Headquarters World War II. Hello again there, friends and fans. Raptor here, and welcome to an extendo look at Headquarters World War II. This game's coming soon to Steam, and it looks absolutely gorgeous, on par of what I love about Call to Arms, Gates of Hell, Ostfront, and also Men of War Assault Squad 2. This game is on the Western Front with the British, the Americans, and the Germans, shortly after the D-Day landings, and I think takes place in and around Normandy itself, and allows us to build bases and do more than just actual strategy on the battlefield, but also deal with the logistics of housing troops and supplying them with ammunition and food and fuel and much more to continue the fight. Now, Slytherin, the publisher of this game, is also publishing Broken Arrow, and they've really picked up a lot of great games recently in terms of publishing, and there's a lot of interesting ones to keep an eye on. And so I want to keep it on when it comes to promoting this publisher, because there's a lot of great games that they have in their wheelhouse. And so I want to take an extendo look at this one and build up the hype, as possibly soon we'll have a demo or a playtest for Headquarters World War II. Let's take a look at the trailer. So I've been keeping my eye on Headquarters World War II for a little while now, and I've got to say it's quite promising to see more games going past just the basic battles and showcasing a lot more of the logistics and the management of these vehicles, of course, in games like War Thunder, and of course in a few other, like Call of Duty, for example. You can, of course, customize all your different guns and weapons and equipment, and the same with War Thunder with different types of vehicle engines and gun types and whatnot. And it'll be cool to see in this game not only the ability to do things on the battlefield, such as flanking and managing, like, for example, vehicle elevation and troop movement through different types of terrain, like, for example, a road versus a swamp versus just hard ground. Vehicles, of course, would have different speeds and the ability to traverse different terrain that way. And so I want to see a game like this go beyond that, and that's what it seems like Headquarters World War II will do. Now, there's some other games coming out that also allow you to manage bases in World War I. I think there's a World War I hospital simulator coming out where it's a little less on the combat and a little more on the logistics and the supplies, which is interesting within itself. On this channel, we play a lot of city builders where, of course, when it comes to city skylines, it's mostly about just the money that you have. But other city builders, such as Tropico or Workers and Resources Soviet Republic, means that you have to have the resources within your grasp or usability in order to use it to build a hospital or a bridge. And so in this case, if you're going to be creating a bridgehead, you obviously need tons of troops and the supplies for them, the food, the fuel, and not just transporting the troops to the front. And I think there's other great examples of games doing this too, like Foxhole and also Hell Let Loose. Although they're two completely different games in terms of how they're played, they do simulate a lot of the same things in terms of logistics with things like trains or trucks, or at least capturing fuel sections. And same with Company Heroes, for example, being able to fight the battle and also have a headquarters or a base in the same area, although it's technically on the front line. Now, Headquarters World War II allows us to basically do that during the days of Normandy, and the Germans, of course, in retreat, trying to recreate fuel dumps and pull back supplies and be on the retreat and try to be defensive too, with the British and the Americans and, of course, Canadians, Polish, and other forces pushing up with them. Now, they might make an appearance with special units and divisions between them, the Canadians and the Poles, but it seems like this will be a solid game to manage all your resources inside the base. Now, our friend here, Alexander, has been really good with explaining a lot of this stuff in previous events, such as Slytherin's next event, which we're going to take a look at in a moment. But this game looks gorgeous. Very lush environments, very good animations for the infantry, and really it looks like a polished game, and so I'm hoping to see a playtest or a demo sometime shortly. If you're unaware, Steam every 3 months or so does something called the Steam Next event, and that pretty much showcases every game that's coming up in the next couple of months on Steam, and this could be one of those games that's a part of it, or might have a free playtest for everybody to take part in. But I must say that this game both feels like, for example, Men of War Assault Squad or Call to Arms Gates of Hell Ostfront, more than it feels like Company Heroes, but also is turn-based, and there's something nice about that that seems a little bit more strategic. Now, I know a lot of people might not be interested in turn-based games, but I think they're getting a lot more interesting with it being kind of more of a intimate battle, kind of more on the size of like a few squads and a few tanks rather than a massive operation such as the invasion of Poland or Operation Barbarossa or something like that, where you see a large hexagon-type map. Now, I haven't seen much for the campaign for this game, but it will have multiplayer. It does seem like it'll be somewhere from 2v2s to 4v4s in very lush environments and very dense cities with a lot of destruction, and so that's why I keep mentioning Men of War Assault Squad or Call to Arms, which is very promising to me to be able to see completely destructible environments, which also could adjust your strategy for things like, you know, demolishing a house to be able to see over it and have domination of a Flak 88 down a main road or something like that, or to destroy a bridge and stop the enemy from bringing in reinforcements, or to stop them from retreating, that type of thing. And of course, to use special forces to do so, perhaps using paratroopers to throw a satchel on a bridge to stop infantry from retreating or from entering. There's a lot of strategy here, and it'll be quite cool to see. Now, Slytherin has also done a few live, or maybe they were pre-recorded, but it was presented in their next event live of people playing multiplayer, and a lot of strategies that you would expect for games like War Thunder, and also like Steel Division and Steel Division 2, being present here too, with the massive flanking from the side and lots of troops pouring in, air support, those types of things. Although again, this is a more intimate battle, I really want to see a lot more on the scale of managing a base as well. Now, one of the first games that I saw that would allow us to manage a base was all the way back in like Blitzkrieg 3, and although that was kind of more of a hub or a splash screen for managing your future operations, things like future like campaign missions that you could go on to do side missions to then build your forces up to the main mission. This game could have a lot of that in common, where you could train troops for multiple different operations and both have big and small missions going on to support the main offensive. For example, right after D-Day, perhaps sending out troops to ambush enemy supplies and then trying to strike their main force, which would then become weaker, that type of thing. Now, I'm not sure if our base can be attacked and if we have to build defenses for that, or even defend it in a screen or in a mode like this where we're seeing the turn-based strategy going on, but it would be quite cool, although I do like the whole aspect of it being all about headquarters and managing supplies and troops that way. And of course, the veterancy from our units in these battles going into future battles as well through the campaign. And with the German campaign, an American and a British campaign, or at least an Allied and Axis campaigns, that's good. It's always good to see these battles from different points of view, and also great to see all the different types of motivations for these troops at the point of where it's the war is still kind of undecided yet. Obviously it's kind of already won, but regardless, it's cool to see all the different vehicles and customization for these vehicles, and vehicles that we don't often see. Of course, the beautiful Panzer III and half-tracks are here, as well as German Panzer Grenadiers, but also British troops and different weapons that they use, and improvised weapons as well that could be used on the battlefield. And a lot of diversity for these units too, where there's a lot of different options to move them and go into Overwatch. So it seems like a game that's well thought out in terms of it being a turn-based game, but I want to see a lot more for the logistics and a lot of the trucks and things that can bring supplies in. Now, when we were watching this live, we saw, for example, a truck full of pigs, and we're thinking to ourselves, like, okay, can we capture that truck full of pigs, slaughter those pigs, and then have bacon on the front lines, brother? Hell yeah. Like, that'd be a great thing. A motivator for the troops to have a fresh meal. Is that something that comes into play into a game like this? And if not, it would be great to see different types of mods into this game as well. But this does a great job of combining what I enjoyed about another game on the channel called The Troop, which was focused on British and Canadian troops, I think just right after D-Day, and also the Germans. That was a wonderful and fantastic turn-based game, but also this has the beauty and the realism of what I really enjoy about Men of War Assault Squad with the Rob's Realism mod on, or even Call to Arms Gates of Hell Ostfront, which has a lot to do with the Eastern Front, but with a lot of mods, showcases a lot of stuff from the Western Front too, and I hope they deliver a DLC for that. But this is one that I've really wanted to come out for quite some time and need to be able to see in a playtest. The great thing about these vehicles, too, is that they have a lot of animation to them in terms of their tracks, where you can actually see them flexing when they drive over something like a ditch or a wall, and a lot of animations to stone walls flying apart and buildings being destroyed. And from what I recall, a lot of great sounds, too. So certainly one that it seems like is a lot more polished than most games that we play that are kind of in early access, where I'm really surprised at this point we don't actually have some sort of a demo or a release date or like a confirmed like playtest or something to test out the multiplayer matches before they launch to make sure everything's all nice and smooth. But I like what I see so far. The UI looks fantastic. It reminds me a lot. Does that not remind you of like Company Heroes like 1 or 2? It certainly does. Like the whole mini-map on the left side and some of the units at the bottom really reminds me of Company Heroes, especially 2 and 1 on the left side for the mini-map, but also reminds me a bit of Metawar Assault Squad with seeing the troops that are inside the vehicles, where, of course, if a vehicle becomes damaged, like tracked, or if the gunner becomes killed or wounded in the turret, or the commander, then the vehicle's going to have some difficulty targeting and firing, and will have some reduced capability, even though it's in the battle. And I'll have to see more things, or I would like to see things like capturing enemy units and the ability to possibly bring them under your control, and what the whole situation for getting supplies for them would be. But yeah, I really like how it's well thought out. I want to play multiplayer in this. I would love to see a co-op campaign and things beyond just the multiplayer skirmish, like maybe 2 players could play against the AI. That sounds fun to learn. Play against other players. That sounds good too. And of course, possibly a co-op campaign, which would be great. Yeah, some of the animations are a little, I don't know, cartoony, like a whole tank lifting off for being hit, but at least it showcases that. So anyway, that's all for now for Headquarters World War II. Let me know your thoughts down below. I also wanted to make this to just kind of confirm, like, hey, this game's still around, still coming out. I still want to play it, and I hope you're all interested in seeing this and many more World War II games on the channel. So thanks again for watching. Have yourself a good one, and I'll see you all soon for Headquarters World War II. Hell yeah, another World War II game, another strategy game. I'm all for it. All right, I'll see you soon.